This is my audience. Alright, so for my final speech, I wanted to share with you guys the proper etiquette for getting a deaf person's attention and how to communicate with them. So as many of you guys know, I am going to school to be a sign language interpreter. So not only is this relevant to my degree, but I also think it's just really important because it's super simple. It's basically common sense, but it can make a world of difference for the person you're talking to. So I'm going to first go over like a major don't, like for approaching a deaf person and talking to them, just things that you shouldn't do. And then I'm going to go through how to get their attention properly, what you do when you have their attention, and then finally just a couple basic signs for emergency situations and then everyday life. So for my first part, can I get a volunteer to help me demonstrate this really quick? Thank you, Grace. Okay, so you're just going to stand there and look pretty and ignore any sounds I make because you're just going to pretend you're deaf. So I can show everyone what you should not do when talking to a deaf person. Okay, ignore how ridiculous I look. Hi, my name is Stohry. Okay, so lots of things wrong with what I just did, but I'm going to go through them with you really quick. So suddenly changing the volume of my voice isn't going to change the fact that she's deaf. I know, as loud as I yell, it's not going to change anything, and that goes for everyone. And the more I enunciate, also not going to suddenly make them magically understand what you're saying. Just don't do it. It's rude, it looks ignorant, and you know, it's not going to change anything, it's not going to help anything, and it's going to make everyone frustrated. So this may seem a little bit ridiculous, but after talking to a lot of my deaf instructors, they kind of told me how common this actually happens. You'd be surprised, it happens a lot. And that's because people feel nervous in this situation and they don't know what to do, and they think, oh, like, it's a deaf person, how do I communicate with them? And they just get kind of flustered, and so they end up yelling as like a way to communicate. And this is completely unnecessary because deaf people are just people too, just like you and I. The only difference is that their upstairs neighbor clunking around doesn't bother them, and the baby who cries all night next door also doesn't bother them, but that's the only difference. So treat them like people, just like you want to be treated. Don't shout at them, it's not going to help. And you can sit down for a minute and then I'll have you get back up. Thanks. So after going through some of my textbooks in class, I came across a fact that really was surprising to me because I had just been misinformed my whole life. And this is about lip reading, because you know, you watch a lot of movies and they'll have like a specialist come in to lip read a crime scene video or something, and a lot of people think that deaf people can lip read and that it's easy for them or that they've been doing it their whole lives, and it's true, some can lip read a little bit, but only 30% of the American language is actually readable by lip, and the rest of it is pretty much just guesswork and context. So don't assume that the person you're talking to can lip read. Of course, there's always an exception to the rule. There are some people who are good at this, but the vast majority of people can't. They can only catch a few things here and there. So it's not really a good way to communicate with someone, and usually ends up frustrating people. So now we've gone over what not to do, I'm going to show you guys how to properly get the attention of a deaf person. Alright, so just turn around. Okay, so it's really simple. All you have to do if they're facing the other way is tap their shoulder. And this is a perfectly acceptable and polite way to get a deaf person's attention. And they even teach this in school. I know I've learned this over and over from all of my teachers. Okay, so you turn around one more time. Thank you. Okay, so if you don't want to touch their shoulder for some reason or another, an alternative to this is simply getting in their line of sight, so that they know you're trying to communicate with them and you're trying to get their attention. Alright, that's all I'm going to need you for. Thank you so much. Alright, so those are two really simple ways to get someone's attention if they're standing up, but what if you're, let's say, at a dinner party and they're at the end of this long table? What do you do then? You can't, get up because it's kind of a hassle to get out of your chair. This is also super simple, kind of common sense, but all you have to do is kind of like wave in their direction, and sometimes this will catch their eye, and if it doesn't, all you have to do then is ask someone near them to get their attention for you. And no one's really going to be bothered by this. It's super easy, it's not going to frustrate anyone, and that's all you need to do. Okay, so once you have their attention, here are some super easy ways to communicate with them that are, if you don't know any sign language, you have alternative options. Most people have cell phones these days, and you can open your notes and pass back and forth notes that you type out to each other, or if there's pen and paper available, just write back and forth, and they will usually tell you what mode of communication they prefer. That will be easy for both people. So it's super simple, and there's usually either pen and paper or phone around. So you can use either of those, or if there's a whiteboard or something like that. Okay, so now to wrap this up, I wanted to show you guys just a couple signs that can be really helpful in an emergency situation or just everyday life. So copy after me. This is hospital. So you just go towards yourself and then down. And that's a sign for hospital. So if you ever need to indicate that for some reason, you don't need a normal sentence. That can just be like a general message. Another one is help. So sign language is pretty directional, which means that you sign like in the direction of the person you're indicating to. So this is the general sign for help. If you sign out towards someone, it's like they need help or I can help you. But if you sign towards yourself, that means like I need help or can you help me? So those are just two really simple ones. And the last emergency sign I'm going to show you is the word emergency. So if you go like this with your hand, make what is an E in American Sign Language, the alphabet. This is an E, and you're just going to shake it, and that means emergency. So, alright, those are emergency signs, and I hope you don't ever have to use them, but if you do, those can really be helpful to you someday. I hope you don't, but you do, there they are. So, thank you guys so much for listening to my speech. That's all. It's pretty simple, but makes a world of difference. So, thank you for listening.